Imagine being a program that didn't get a $401 million donation this week, like Duke or Indiana. Pathetic. You're listening to Can't Read, Can't Write. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Can't Read, Can't Write, the podcast that proves Spartans can spend. I'm Mike Jones, joined as always by the guy who's ready to double down on everything that was said last week, Kevin Greck, and not by the guy too cowardly to defend his takes from last week, Alexander Plum. Kevin, how are you?
I'm very well. I don't know why we're cracking beer cans, though. It seems like this should be Dom Perignon or something like that. I'll have to talk to my guy Greg about all the line items and the donation, but
we should have grabbed something
this,
from listener Mike Jones for this.
Yeah, this Walkerville Brewing, like I'm sure it's a lovely beer. It's a great beer, and I recommend it to everyone from our Canadian friends on the other side of the border. But I mean, 401 mil. Like, come on. Come on, baby. Let's go.
There should have been something given. You got what, 600,000 living alums?
Mm-hmm.
That plays large enough order. You could have gotten it in bulk, right? We could have gotten something for everyone and barely put a dent in that shit.
Do you remember last week all the things that we talked about? And one of them was, there's no way it's 401 million, right?
No, Kevin.
Crazy.
We said it'd be crazy if it was 400 million.
Oh, that's right.
It was 401, which is a less crazy number.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Oh, my God. It's a stupid amount of money. And we're going to talk about it. But before we do, we, of course, want to thank everyone for listening. If we can ask a couple small favors, please share the pod with Spartans in your life. Rate, review, and subscribe wherever you get podcasts. And, of course, follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Spartan_pod and at Blue Sky at SpartanPod. And, yeah, if you can give us subscribe to the YouTube channel, it'd be much appreciated. Kevin, all right, we have a complicated maybe structure to the show this week.
Yeah,
complicated in the decisions that we need to make. So, of course, we're going to start behind the green wall, where I'm confused with what to lead with, because we, of course, have maybe the largest donation, probably the largest donation to a public institution ever given. We have the press conferences from Pat Fitzgerald, and we have a recruiting class, and we have coach retention, and we have a QB1 sticking around. And then we also lost to Duke, which in any other situation would lead the show.
Well, a win would definitely lead the show. But make no mistake, a $401 million donation, almost all of it going to athletics, is about football. So I think we can justify leading with that.
Okay.
Because this week, Greg and Don Williams, owners of a East Lansing golf course turned back and front yard, as we learned all about during Tom Izzo's remarks.
Wait, so he didn't say that part, or I missed it, that they were mowing down this golf course to turn it into their yard?
Correct. It's their house. Yeah.
I didn't realize. I thought this was some weird thing where they bought a golf course because they just have clearly fuck you money. And
well, as Tom said, they don't golf. So no, they have a real the Righteous Gemstones situation going on over there, is my understanding.
The picture.
Yeah, there's their house, and then they've got like a whole compound, and then their family also has other houses there, and then there's a helipad. They've got it all situated. Everything you need.
Real quick sidebar. You bring up the helipad. There was a conversation we had at one point in time about a project that may or may not happen on campus. Was that
not Greg?
Oh, okay, not for him. Okay.
Not for him. He can manage to get to campus from the golf course.
I was very curious if we had sort of a Taylor Swift doing like a few blocks in LA situation happening.
That would be great. That would be great. Not Greg, is my understanding. So anyway, Greg and Dunn, who, Greg, if you're not familiar, everyone should be very familiar now. Greg is co-owner slash CEO of Acrisure, who does insurance, I think in a B2B type context. That part I still don't understand. It's a company that's still private, is going to IPO, according to everything that we've seen sometime this year. So his big cash in check hasn't even arrived yet, but he and the missus are throwing around $401 million.
Can we, but you kind of buried a thing there of like, how rich is Greg Williams?
There's no way of knowing.
Well,
we don't know.
But to contribute $401 million indicates obviously a massive level of wealth.
Yes.
But to do that pre-IPO is an even like more, because folks, Matt Ishbia was wealthy, very wealthy.
I'm sure he was doing fine. Yeah.
But then got stupid rich.
But the roller coaster in Birmingham only happened after the IPO.
Right. Like, Greg's going to hit a different level here in a little while.
That's the thing that's crazy about this. Well, first off, it's not 100% clear to us yet, all the details of this. We've gotten some line items about different programs, including Sparty and the marching band that are getting a cut of all of this. $100 million of it is being carved out for Spartan Ventures. And I don't think it's been properly reported on yet, everything that Spartan Ventures entails and what this means for Spartan Ventures. But then the other thing that's clear is that some of this is immediate term and some of this is longer term. So I don't think the athletic department got a $401 million check this week. I think this is part of an ongoing will sum up to $401 million from Greg and Don Williams. But the crazy thing is, they're obviously very committed to athletics. Greg is my understanding, our number one NIL guy for football for the last couple of years, ever since all of the Steve St. Andre unpleasantness that took place. I could be wrong about that. That's just my understanding. But the big check for this guy hasn't even arrived yet. And he's throwing around this kind of money, which tells me 5-10 years from now, well, is there going to be another significant investment of some kind? I don't know. We should just be happy about this here and now and not look towards the future.
Because he certainly doesn't owe us anything at this point in time.
Yes. I think his watch is ended, as they say. But I have a feeling we're going to hear from Greg Williams again.
Yeah, and for those who don't know, just to clarify what you were saying, the Spartan Ventures is going to be the new revenue-generating wing of Michigan State Athletics. And so to that end will be the portion of Michigan State Athletics that will contract for the revenue sharing with student athletes. So so that $100 million, you're right, it's unclear what it'll all go towards, but we do have a strong indication that it will be paying what we're currently calling NIL, but those rev share payments to athletes.
Yeah, I'm not sure that it's that simple. I think there's more to it than that. And I wouldn't mind if someone dug into it a little bit, maybe someone with some resources. Because Spartan Ventures is the thing that Jay Batt announced earlier this year. Right. It's still nonprofit, but we're separating from the university a little bit, or from the athletic department.
Can move fast.
Yeah, something dynamic, something
omni-channel,
but still nonprofit, of course. So we talked about the For Sparta initiative last week, and Plum specifically was a little bit worried about the amount of cash that we already had on hand for the $1 billion goal. Well, I think we're a little bit closer to that now. I think we've eclipsed 500 million, I would say, for that. I don't know if we're quite at 6 yet, but like all of those capital projects that we were talking about, Jennison, we got to see more of Spartan Stadium in this announcement.
Yep.
This is a crazy amount of, the word investment keeps going around. That's not what this is, though. Like, it's just a crazy lump sum of cash dropped on Spartan Athletics that for us talking about the future of college sports, the future of college football as that relates to college sports, the haves, the have-nots, something like this puts you very solidly when you already have all of the infrastructure of a large stadium and a basketball team that is participating in the most viewed Fox broadcast college basketball game of all time, and a football team that's in the top 20 in attendance every year. Like, this puts you very solidly in that have category without much debate about it. So, Jonesy, what were your thoughts as this was coming across our timeline Friday morning?
I mean, first, genuine shock at the level of contribution. The allocation was interesting to me. The $100 million as an aside to go to Spartan Ventures, which is essentially private capital, right? Because it's not a donation; it's an investment in, is the way it was described in the press conference. Anyway, I think a handful of things. Sort of one, Tom Izzo is the greatest fundraiser of all time. I mean, so there's that. Anyone who's going to shout out J Bat on this, no, that.
Yeah, I do have it here as a line item on our agenda. Does Jonesy have anything nice he'd like to say about J Bat? What were you calling him last week?
Old dick fingers?
Yeah. I still don't understand, for the record, what that means or where it came from, where it originated.
I just think there's something very entertaining about,
like, hot dog fingers, but phalluses. We got to be careful with that from some of the feedback that we got from last week as well. But continue.
So that was pretty impressive. I did not know that Greg was not an alum, that he's just someone local to the area who cares about the area and recognizes the role that MSU plays in the success of Mid-Michigan.
Well, he's obviously very committed to Mid-Michigan. Acrisure is based out of Grand Rapids, but he very much lives in East Lansing.
I told you this, but it was, we've talked about this before on the podcast, that basketball, how Tom Izzo runs his program, and the core beliefs of his program being sort of a metaphor for things that you can take with you into life, and some of the things that we all believe in about work ethic, right?
You can hold some of that for the Fitz press conference as well.
But the fact that Greg was talking about how he's known Tom Izzo for like 7 years, but in his speech talked about how, they both were talking about how they, how much they've learned from each other. But Greg said, you've taught me so much in 30 years, long before I even knew you. And I don't know, that really resonated with me. And then the story that Greg told about how, when his daughter was a teenager, that they didn't get along, and that the one place that they were able to talk was at women's basketball games. I bring sort of these aren't, how much better are we gonna be than everyone else? But I think they are really nice reminders of why we do this podcast, for instance, right? Like, why people get so invested in college sports is that it's a connection to a place. It is something that speaks to who you are as an individual. I don't know, like, you can root for anybody, right? But there's something very soulful, I guess. I don't know. There's something more to who you choose in college sports sometimes, and I think, to Tom Izzo's credit, his identity and obviously the person he is, and holy shit, him talking about Dawn mowing the lawn was who he is. But my God, man.
Prepared remarks too. One thing, as long as we're on the subject.
Do you think you ran that by Lupe? I'm going to say here, can you believe a woman was mowing the lawn?
I don't think anyone saw those prepared remarks before he said them out loud. Greg, we're looking for someone to cover women's basketball here for the pod, bud. And if you've been going to those games since the Susie Merchant era, happy to have you on board, bud. If you want to come out here, talk about today's loss to Wisconsin, which frankly, we were not going to cover in all likelihood today.
Well, they also just they were not. They're Halleck's out and
yeah, a couple injuries, and someone sustained an injury over the course of the game, according to my apps here.
But yeah, Greg, we were in conversations with Chubb for them to be a presenting sponsor of the podcast.
Yeah,
but we're open.
It seems right to give you the first crack at it. It's only fair.
So I think the personal component and the sincerity with which, I mean, you have to assume that that's there, because otherwise, how do you write this large of a check? Something that's kind of an interesting backdrop to all of this. Have you seen any of the news about Texas Tech right now?
Well, they're spending big, and it seems to be working.
Well, in particular, one of their billionaires was interviewed and was like, look, we have a real rare opportunity right now. There are no rules. And so, they chose last year. I don't know, TBD on how successful that will be in the long term, but I'll be interested to see where this money goes, because football does feed everything, and it's been in a dark place for a long time. And so I think, in the same way that we talked about how what he's done, like you can park money and then the year over year interest is going to be enough to pay for things. I think the investment in football hopefully will also be a year over year investment that will help pay for your other sports going forward.
And it's not going to be just this. Now, I'm not talking about Greg Williams now. I'm talking about these types of gifts tend to motivate other people of means to open the pocketbook a little bit. I don't think we're going to see massive announcements like we've been seeing for Greg and Dawn over the last couple of days, but I wouldn't be at all surprised to find out in a couple of years, hey, we did see a 50% increase in activity from big money donors over the year after this, or something similar to that.
I gave a small contribution afterwards.
See, there you go.
I was like, if this dude can contribute $401 million, then I can spare a few bucks. And
I'm also a little less mad that Spartan Nation NIL stopped existing and I kept contributing to it, because it seems like he's good for it. I'm gonna take a little bit of this and say that I think that's actually mine. Thank you. That went in for my $50 a month every month. Even after Spartan Nation NIL ceased existing.
Yeah, you should take him to small claims just to find out where the money went.
Just to be like, which part of this is mine,
right,
if anything. I do want to go back to the J-Bat thing. I think it was right that Tom Izzo had such a large role in this press conference. And there are other people that are in major gifts at the university that definitely deserve credit, because they're doing this every day and they're fostering these relationships. And we did hear from one of them during the press conference. So she definitely deserves a great deal of credit for this. To the extent Kevin and G and J Bat are involved, I think credit needs to be given for the university isn't messing this up right now. There are people of means that are looking at the university as it's being run right now and think it's not a complete waste of my $401 million to put it behind these guys and women at the moment. So that, I think, credit needs to be given to the athletic department. Credit needs to be given to the president's office. Credit needs to be given to the board to some extent for not screwing this up entirely. They've been out of the news for a little bit. So
the bar is so low.
That's a very low bar, but they have ever so slightly exceeded it. So as far as you hear this a lot, and I think we've said it as well, everyone needs to be kind of rowing in the same direction. If we're going to be successful. And this is something that only happens if it appears that for the most part, we're all rowing in the same direction. And that's not under the best of circumstances either. Like the Jonathan Smith failure is difficult. The fact that Kevin G just made the decision to fire or not retain, however you want to say it, an alum as AD could have rustled some major feathers. But your guy, Jay Batt, came in and at least gave the university's biggest donor, step aside, Ishbia, enough, I guess, filled him enough with confidence that this is not throwing good money after bad.
Yep.
And that as an athletic department and as a university, we're generally moving in the right direction.
No, Dick Fingers does have a role in this, but I guess I'm hesitant for anyone to attribute the origin of the gift to him. That's
sure. Oh yeah,
that's because
it's not like he came in 6 months ago and then drummed this up. There's no way.
No,
but he came in 6 months ago and didn't ruin it, didn't mess it up.
No, and probably was a requisite step for. I mean, in all honesty, if we're wondering who might have played a role in the change in ship, might have been Greg being part of the reason that Alan's not here anymore. Particularly if you're dangling, because a decision to contribute $401 million does not happen over the course of 6 months, I would imagine, either, right? This has been a ongoing conversation, and if someone who's considering that level of donation has questions about whether the athletic director is the right person, guessing the new president probably heard that loud and clear.
So we love billionaires and billionaires meddling in the affairs of the university. That's what I'm hearing from you. That's your favorite thing?
Whoa.
That's what I just heard from you. What I heard was a good decision was made because a billionaire
because he ended up divesting some of his money. And I will co-sign to the extent that it involves a billionaire divesting of a substantial portion of funds.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I heard Mike Jones loves billionaires. Honestly, though, billionaires want to spend their money buying me toys because I'm along for the ride on this one. It could be way worse. It could be way worse.
Again, we are considering Chubb, but we are open to Acrisure as a presenting sponsor. No, I mean, look, yes, there are plenty of other worse things to contribute to, but I also won't. I just don't. I'm sure there are those out there who are pearl clutching about, but this money could have gone towards research or some other thing in the area. Yes, it could have. But you could also tax folks at a higher level and fund those. So if we're going to let rich folks be whimsical with their money, then I'm not going to, I don't know, change the laws. In the meantime, this benefits me, but I will.
So too bad. So sad. We like this one.
Yeah. Larry Ellison, though, get fucked. But
yeah, that guy sucks.
And he should have contributed to child cancer or something.
Yeah, you would only buy so much of Hawaii. Forget you, man. Take off.
So one of the last thing, I don't think we fully talked about the renderings of the new stadium last week. And we might have mentioned the floating Spartan head, but one thing I do want them to do is the overhang on the stadium.
Well, it's only one side. It's like a one wing type of.
Yeah,
the stadium's going to be flying in circles.
Because
I don't get the impression that anything's happening on the other side, and I also think the proportions are being played with a little bit because one side's going to be way taller than the other side. I got to go back and spend some more time looking at the renderings because it became clear looking at those that they intend to chop off a significant section of the upper deck to build that upper club level and suites. And then it's not clear to me, does it go up to the same height as the other side? But I think the overhang is only on what is going to be the east side addition.
Well, they should do both. Less sunlight messing with you and...
Yeah, but I've been also thinking about this. The east side only gets sun right overhead during noon games, and you have to be good to play on noon games.
Well, when you have $401 million,
yeah. But the
sound piece, Kevin, is the other piece of this. Spartan Stadium is already considered a when it's full and rocking, a difficult place to play.
Mm-hmm.
If you're able to close that in even more, you're looking at a super raucous environment.
Who was it? Wasn't there like a Purdue player or something like that that was like the ones that you think are hard to play in? And then also Spartan Stadium, you would be surprised. We hear that a lot. Of like,
Third down is a bitch.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's my, that I co-sign on. The renderings were pretty cool to the extent that
I
they're
do like
real.
that it looks like the addition is kind of like two towers that are kind of connected across the top and across the middle. So it's not like the other side where it's a full building, but then also it looks like there's more mass to it. It comes out a little bit further. With this much money too, like you kind of know that a lot of that stuff's actually going to happen, which is nuts.
Yeah. I as much as I will just, I'm also going to plug this. You got to do something with Jennison. Like that is an important building, historically speaking. Like it is a building worth preserving. And if you're going to house that many sports there, I'm not saying prioritize it in the sense of, I understand that football pays for things, but I'm just saying you got like 8 buildings on the campus map that are going to get touched.
The other ones are not that substantial though. Like the one for hockey, I think is just like a food pavilion, like a little extra nub on top of the new edition.
I'm just saying, just do Jennison right. Like it's worthy of it. I mean, Magic played there. Like,
yeah. And that's the kind of stuff that you, like, I know you like the idea of building that additional stadium off on South Campus over by Trowbridge.
I didn't hate it.
But you can't buy the history that happened at Jennison. The game of change will never happen at that other stadium. Magic will have never played at that other stadium. The Tuskegee Airmen will have never come out during a halftime show at that other stadium. Like, things can start happening and, buildings get an aura over time, but still Jennison has something worth preserving. Looking at the Breslin gets some updates. The tennis center is already built. Some updates to Old College Field that aren't that substantial really in the scope of things. I guess we could talk about Breslin and the Izzone getting just a little bit is what it looks like looking at these renderings. But the two big changes are the Jennison Fieldhouse edition and the Spartan Stadium East Side edition. And I would think if they get close to their $1 billion, like even if it's only 800 million instead of $1 billion, you could do those things.
Sure. I'm already spending Greg's money, and that's what I'm looking at. But let's move along here because we have quite a bit to talk about still, and we're already 30 minutes in. So,
well, we're putting off talking about Fitzgerald because
we're putting off talking about Duke.
We're the only ones that were hard on this hire, I think. If you go back and listen to all of MSU podcastery, we went the hardest on them. We got a lot of feedback on this. And we didn't exactly have our finger on the pulse of where the fan base overall would be going. Do you have any regrets about last week?
No, I don't. I'll say a couple things because, first of all, Pat Fitzgerald is the coach of the program that I love, and I will support him and root for him, and we're going to cover him just the same way that we did Jonathan Smith, who we were very excited about the hire and then quickly started asking some questions when, say, all of his Oregon State staff got giant raises. But that's not to say that we won't enthusiastically, as fans, be rooting for Pat Fitzpatrick did it again, to be successful. There's I believe it's a John Wayne quote after John F. Kennedy won the presidency. He's like, I didn't vote for him, but I hope he does a good job, right? We've got 17 years of data on Pat Fitzgerald.
In the Big Ten West.
Yep.
I'm teeing you up. I'm trying to get you riled back up again.
Nope. I'm not going to do it because, one thing I did think about Kevin is that...
so you are walking back. Okay, go ahead. Continue.
The one thing I thought about is that his post-COVID years were among his worst.
Mm-hmm.
And so he ended at 110 to 103 or something like that, near-ish 500. You roll back that 7-23 or whatever he finished at, winning percentage going into COVID was okay.
Yeah, but isn't football a what have you done for me lately sport?
Yeah. No,
Most recent.
Look, I think the questions we all had that we had and the things that we were critical of are absolutely fair. That said, I'm not going to pretend that watching him in this first week that he at least doesn't seem to culturally resonate with Michigan State. Now, it's easy when you're undefeated. It's so easy when you're undefeated. And
Right.
Pat Fitzgerald is undefeated.
This is also something that we did not get from Jonathan Smith. I don't know how long we're going to have to do this where we keep bringing him up, but in his first year, we kept talking about how little juice the program seemed to have for a brand new guy. This is what we were referencing. This is your opportunity to seize and create momentum because you've got nothing but green pastures right now. And he's doing that. That's for sure. Do you want to talk about his press conference at all? Like what was your reaction to his remarks?
First of all, J-Bat is going to lose his moniker for a moment. Shout out to Kevin G, J-Bat, and shockingly, Pat Fitzgerald. Like, only shockingly because I don't think Pat Fitzgerald owed Jonathan Smith an iota. But all three of them to thank Jonathan Smith for the way in which he represented the institution and the manner in which he handled the transition. I'm not stealing this from Izzo. Talked to you guys about this before Izzo said it. Like, that was great. The Pat Fitzgerald in particular played the hits. He acknowledged that there is a game that's really fucking important to us. And, he said a lot of the things that I think a coach says, but he said it a little bit differently in terms of his tone and tenor. And, this is to the thing that we got critical of Graham about last week. This is the thing that makes him easy to like, is the way that he communicates. I do think the most meaningful part to me, though, was when he was asked by, I believe, Fred Human, about what is his hunger like right now to coach. And that moment where he nearly cried, which was the second time that he nearly cried in his thing, there was a real, I could feel anyway, the exhale.
You almost cried, is what you're saying.
I did almost cry. I did almost cry because I could feel the exhale of, I've been waiting for this for so long. Like, I think it is a really human thing to relate to somebody, but he was worried that a thing that he very clearly loves and cares about, which is coaching football, was taken away from him forever. And that he was getting this other chance was really meaningful to him. Credit to old Dick Fingers. He negotiated a pretty great contract that is representative of Pat Fitzpatrick getting... I didn't even mean to do it that time.
That wasn't even intentional.
That's just not intentional.
You're just out here negging him. All right. Related to the contract, this is not my original thought. Listener Mike Jones and I went on a little date. I got invited to the hockey game or the basketball game. Thank you, listener Mike Jones. And this was he pointed this out in the contract. So if you're not familiar, Pat Fitzpatrick comes in pretty affordably in the scope of Division I college head coaches at about $5 million, and then it goes up from there. There's a standard of living increase due to inflation, of course, about $1 million a year.
And also can we say he gets a $500,000 kicker for winning 6 games?
That's where we're going.
Okay.
So listener Mike Jones pointed out to me, he gets the kicker for 6, and then he gets a 1.5 kicker for 8, as if to say, this is actually where we expect you to be.
Yeah.
And that kind of gets to the point that I was getting at years ago, that there should be a 3 and 9 clause of like, we just rip the whole thing up and throw it out. Like, his point, and I think he's right about this, was the athletic department truly thinks that this is where you need to be to be a satisfactory football coach, and you will get paid that amount when you achieve that. I think a lot of people interpret that as like, we're setting the bar really low to get 8-4 only. That's not what this is about. What this is about is this is the expectation of the program, at least, to do this. And then you have another escalator after that. But that brings him pretty close to like a market rate for a
Yeah.
winning Big Ten football coach.
Yeah, you want to be compensated like a big boy coach, then your bad season should be an 8-win season.
Right. Right. And I think listener Mike Jones is absolutely right about that. And I applaud Jay Batt for doing it that way, and also for Fat Fitzmatrick for taking it. He also referenced, I think, in the media scrum afterwards, which certain people have got to love that there was a media scrum that took place afterwards. 8 total programs were in conversation with him. What's your read on that situation?
So there a couple big programs have been named.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't mean that the conversations were that serious.
Yeah.
So there's that piece of it, right? Because Penn State's been linked to him. Okay. But like, Penn State just hired Matt Campbell as their 9th choice.
Yeah, they're
after
like
the
15th down the
after
list here.
Joseph Smith himself came out of the grave to say, "Get fucked, Penn State."
If there's a Crumble Cookies in Happy Valley, Pennsylvania, I would just shutter that franchise right now.
Did you see people were sending them to the athletic director?
No, I did not see that.
And then James Franklin had them at signing day.
That's an expensive troll right there. A Crumble cookie is a fine cookie, but you're paying for those things to get delivered. That's for sure.
But anyway, so if you settle on Matt Campbell, I don't know how meaningful the link was.
And listeners of the pod that aren't listening to the search as well may be surprised to hear us settle for Matt Campbell, because that's a hot name that has come up over time. But that was some time ago. His recent seasons have cooled his reputation a little bit.
Yeah.
Continue.
As an aside, I think there's certain jobs that maybe on paper sound interesting that are like, don't go there. And Iowa State might be one of those jobs that are not a good stepping stone. But yeah, so that makes me think that, okay, we get 8 programs. How many of these were like serious reach outs? And then of the ones that were serious reach outs, how many of them are we going to flex about? That's kind of it. Look, because I'm sure there are some programs that reached out that were serious about Pat Fitzgerald.
Yeah.
Who thought he needed a stepping stone to get back in. Short of a Saban rehab tour or some time in the NFL, right? Like what's the next thing you do? You take a Mac job or something like that, right?
Yeah.
And so, I don't know how many people we fended off meaningfully, particularly because Pat Fitzgerald mentioned several times that this came together very quickly.
I think that's true, that the contracting came together very quickly.
The courtship didn't.
I think this has been going on for months. I think these communications have been happening for months now. And I think you don't have to dig that deep to figure out or jump to that great a conclusion to kind of see that that's true.
Yeah. Post UCLA.
If this doesn't work out, one thing that I think we will be able to critique Jay Batt on is I don't think a lot of other candidates were seriously considered.
And that, again, for those who think that we were a-holes last week, was one of the things that we were kind of critical about. Is it wasn't just that Pat Fitzgerald has a record that is uninspiring and that the most inspirational aspects of it were against the Big Ten West and him getting curb stomped by Ohio State later on. It's that it's not clear how many other folks you talk to, because who was
and
in
we
play
should
at that
say,
point in time?
Even though I'm not happy to talk about it, as was demonstrated last night, it is possible to beat Ohio State in the Big Ten championship game. You don't just have to be Michigan State. Other programs can do it as well. Even those that should remember that it's always forks down. Forks down today, Forks down tomorrow and Forks down forever.
But so what do we know? Can we move on from the press conference?
Yeah. There's one last thing. Are we moving on from Fitz as a subject? Or moving just on from
we
the
got a
press
couple
conference?
other things to get to. That's
continue then.
Yeah. So Fitz, first of all, let's start with the class, because like a day after he gets signed or has his thing, is National Signing Day. MSU currently ranks at number 46 in the 24/7 composite rankings. I believe we're at 14 commits. Landed 3 4-stars, with one who is technically committed to us, but is definitely cheating on us, waiting till sign until February. That's Samson Gash. But yeah, 3 composite 4-stars, Kevin, that he tied up super fast. And I do think there's a meaningful shout out owed to the staff that Jonathan Smith put together.
Yeah.
Who is doing the job until it's not the job to do.
Yeah.
Like, I think we will look.
That is not happening at Penn State. I think we briefly touched on this last week, but even with Matt Campbell right now, they had 2 players sign national letters of intent on signing day. 2.
So I think Jonathan, look, we will soon not talk about Jonathan Smith ever again. But the fact of the matter is, it seems like he recruited kids who wanted to go to Michigan State.
Mm-hmm.
Something that we have all actively complained about on this podcast, that no one seems to love the school anymore. Well, it seems like he did a really good job of recruiting, or at least selling, the university itself. That's great.
To that point, there's also still not been much of an exodus to the portal either.
Nope.
There's been really no announcements to the portal since our last episode. And a coach has been fired and hired since then.
Yeah. So I think it speaks to Jonathan Smith, and then the people that Jonathan Smith chose to surround himself with. But we also found out Alessio's staying. Oh. So Pat Fitzgerald was able to secure a QB1. That's pretty great. And then we found out he's retaining Joe Rossi and James Adams. Now, there are 2 Adams coaches on the staff who both, generally speaking, coach the same position group. This is the more recent Adams. This is not Blue Adams. This is the safeties coach in particular, which is kind of an interesting retention.
Was not on anyone's list, I don't think, of the we'd like to see old Patty retain these guys.
But I do wonder if it speaks to Rossi's assessment of the coaching staff. It's also worth noting about Joe Rossi, Michigan State would owe, if they fired all of the assistant coaches, something like $4.8 million or something like that. Mm-hmm. $3 million of that is to Joe Rossi. So
he gets extended instead.
Yeah.
You're welcome, bud. I have to be a very temporary wet blanket. We're still going to be wet blankets occasionally. None of these things are propelling us into the upper echelons of the Big Ten. We would not have been pleased with this recruiting class if it belonged with Jonathan Smith. And we still don't really know what's happening with the current roster or the coaching staff. What we've seen is bleeding has stopped, but it's also not entirely sure if maybe this is a situation where we needed a bloodletting. So, yes, it's stable. Yes, it's not awful, but all eyes are on the transfer portal this year. And what is Fat Fitzmatrick? How many different permutations of this can we do? What's he going to do?
Yeah, you can't agree that there is if you're Penn State, it is catastrophic what just happened to you.
Yes.
Even
unbelievably bad.
So yes, I think the analogy to sort of medicine of we've stabilized the situation. And so I'm as critical as I've been. I want to shout out Pat Fitzpatrick about I
like that laundry buzz in the background. It says no, that wasn't the one.
But landing 3 out of the 4 4-stars in the class, that's pretty great. flipped 2 kids. I don't know how he did that.
Yeah, that's interesting because one of our critiques was he doesn't know anyone in recruiting, but he flipped a couple guys.
Yeah, so there is something to held bodies, added bodies, and that does matter because that is, if a couple freshmen leave, all right, I'm going to replace them with new freshmen. Like it's a new system, so it's kind of a 1-to-1 loss, right? So that stuff matters, and I'm enthusiastic about that.
And just so we're on the record, this is not going to hold. There's going to be a mass exodus of guys. It's going to happen. I don't know how mass is mass, but the transfers are going to start coming. You're going to hear about them from us.
I'm going to go because that laundry buzzer is going to go again here in a little bit. I'm going to go do that. You say some words. I won't be able to hear them because my AirPods aren't in.
Okay, great. There is one last thing that Jonesy can't help me with on this, and that's his introductions at athletic events. I've been very fortunate this week, or maybe unfortunate, because the outcomes have not been great. Again, we're continuing to not address the Duke game. His introduction at Breslin Center was very enthusiastic. The crowd reacted to him. He reacted to the crowd. He's getting out in timeouts, and I think he actually threw some of the foam balls into the audience. At the hockey game against Michigan, he drops the puck. He's there. He's in a tuba at some point. He gets handed a tuba. At the Duke game, he comes out again and yells at the crowd about how we've got 2 minutes left to will these guys to a victory. His energy at athletic events has been over the top, maybe getting into antics territory, I would perhaps even say. So my question is for the listenership, is this something that we want? Is it that we're in the desert of enthusiasm and we will just cling to anything that's even the least bit enthusiastic? Or is this over the top? Is this insane behavior a little bit? Is it all right, get here, figure it out a little bit. You're not our dad. Settle down and just focus on being a football coach. I can't answer that question yet. I know which way I'm leaning. I think maybe it's a little exaggerated, but the only Fitzgerald I know is the guy in the Wildcats purple polo. So I'm getting to know this guy in the same way that everyone else is. Jonesy, do you have a read on his level of enthusiasm for this job and its level of sincerity, or is this something that doesn't bother you? You don't care. You're just waiting to see what's happening with the football program.
Well, I don't think he's going back to Northwestern ever.
No, I got that impression as well.
So he did stay somewhere for 17 years and was offered the Michigan job.
No, he was asked to interview for the Michigan job, I believe is the rumor.
Fine. That's better said. So not offered, but actually that reaffirms my point that he said, get fucked from jump. So I'm not particularly worried about him as a flight risk, short of if he's successful and maybe decides he wants to take a crack at the NFL.
This wasn't flight risk. I'm not worried about that. This is his level of enthusiasm at games. Is it over the top? Is it too much?
No, it's not too much.
Okay.
Like,
bother you?
No,
I've been very fortunate. I've already seen him at 3 athletic events. Most of our fandom hasn't seen him at anything yet. So this is just my read being at multiple. His job is to play it up. I get it. We got none of this from the other guy. I'm starting to wean myself off of mentioning him. So,
well, and it's better than the guy before him who was just chopping. I know Mark D'Antonio walked a fine line because he was largely stoic, but would get very intense at times as well.
He had moments, yeah.
And, I look at the things that we loved about Joe Rossi in the middle of a game, and I think because we didn't see him out and about selling, so we didn't doubt the sincerity of it. But when Joe Rossi went to the sideline, he was all riled up, and we really enjoyed that. So I don't know. And the way Pat Fitzpatrick got stuck doing it did me too. But the way Fitzgerald talks about uh, his approach to life, which is maybe borderline toxic positivity, but this idea of sort of always presenting with a smile, always like you're always awesome. I'm describing toxic positivity, but I think that maybe that was just either ingrained in him at some point in time or is natural to who he is. So,
All right. Should we take our medicine and talk about the Duke game?
yeah. So MSU loses to Duke at the Breslin 60. One of the most bummer games for. Actually, how do you want to do this? Do you want to? Plum's not here, so I was going to have a section on overreacting. Do you want to break the game down, or do you want to? Do you want to take some perspective first?
I think we break the game down.
Okay.
So let's do some positives first. First off, did do the things we needed to do to win the game down the stretch.
Yep. Classic starting with positives.
Correct. That's how I start with positives. The positives are we lost. No. Carson Cooper. Dude, what a game. Especially when he got put on cam. Man, that dude.
You mean on, Boozer. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, basically, Boozer won the game for them, in my estimation, which is a real bummer because he had 4 fouls with 7 minutes left, and we couldn't. He hit the bench, but like we could have gotten him out of the game and then just won it from there.
That wasn't going to happen.
Yeah, I would have loved to see us just go after him time and time again because he was pretty pensive. He knew he couldn't pick up his 5th foul. You could tell.
I almost would have had Fears guard him just to really don't back him down.
But Coop, man, like a lot has been said about his maturation as a player this year, and now he's getting like little NBA buzz. This is one of the best games I've seen from him.
I think I saw, just a quick aside, I think I saw someone ask a question, either of us or maybe it was of Couch, of like, was this a Madi Sissoko situation? And this was related to I believe, the Kentucky game. There's enough data in at this point in time about Carson Cooper. This is all real.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, 16 and 16 is and by the way, if he doesn't fuck up boxing out on the free throws, dude could have ended with 16 and 20.
Yeah. The other really, really massive positive that I want to talk about is I was starting to get worried about my guy, Jordan Scott, and dude came out and balled in this game. Yeah. I know he missed that last 3 at the end, but he had 2 massively clutch threes. He was everywhere. He was scooping up boards. He was affecting plays. He was not fazed by the moment. I love Jordan Scott so much.
Question.
Yes, go ahead.
Do you start him?
I would love to see him starting. I want him as involved as possible.
I mean, because the thing is what does that say to Tang and Fort, who you do need to be successful this season?
Well, Jordan Scott played 15 more minutes than Kurtang. So,
well, that's because Kurtang went 0 for 5 in 5 minutes.
Correct. Yeah. So those 2 guys are the big positives to me. Now we can start to bridge over a little bit. Jackson Kohler, big shooting day, but had some issues in some other areas. I don't know what was going on with his 2-point range attempts and when he was deciding to take those or not, and why we wanted to get so mid-range when we're shooting 4 for 6 from 3. But that was not great. Did not love that.
I mean,
but still overall,
4 for 6. 4 for 6 from 3, which is great. Yes. But when you're 5 for 11 from the floor
overall, yes,
that's rough.
Mm-hmm. And then we can also start to get into the bad a little bit. Cohen Carr perhaps has his worst game in 2 years. Like 35 minutes out there, and I on offense at least. I'm not as good at evaluating defense. I was keeping an eye on that kind of stuff. It seemed like he was finding ways to contribute. The boards weren't that great though. 4 total, I think.
For
1
35 minutes
block
is rough.
in 35 minutes. And offensively, just a liability, honestly. Just not his stuff was just not working in this game. And it
Yeah.
seemed like he just was not explosive with the ball, and he was not driving the baseline and doing those things that he's been having a lot of success with. Again, that might be Duke defense kind of taking things away. We do have to talk about their zone that they employed.
Oh yeah, I got a quote on that.
How that's going to be a problem, because we saw this last year. Remember Tom Izzo's quote last year, like, I dare you to play a zone on us. Go ahead, try it. It does seem to work a fair amount though, too. And then we've got let's hold Jeremy Fears for now. Kurtang, of course, bad from the field. The Cam Ward situation. Tell me about he had an injury? What happened here? It was
in the North Carolina game, he landed on his wrist.
Right. So he was out the last game.
Yeah.
And then he aggravated it in this game. That's what happened?
No. He was in the cast. He didn't practice like all week. So I just think he just wasn't good. And then and that also led to Kohler playing probably, I don't know, 7 minutes more than he should have.
Yeah. Well, he got benched and was very visibly upset on the bench.
I don't think that's bad upset, by the way. I think that's just I want to win.
Yeah.
I want to compete, and I'm not able to contribute right now. McCullough.
Are we ready for... Oh, McCullough comes in, hits that massive 3.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised he only played 5 minutes. I mean, I'm not criticizing it.
Pretty impactful 5 minutes. Like, very memorable 5 minutes.
Yeah. And then Ugochukwu only played the 8 minutes. I don't know how he picked up 4 fouls in 8 minutes. That's some Mahdi work there. That must be it, because I was a little surprised by the number of minutes he played in this game, but it probably made for more minutes for Jordan Scott. But yeah,
who should be playing 40 for the record? I think we all know that. I think we all appreciate that.
And he's definitely conditioned and ready for it.
Yeah, that Jordan Scott should be playing full, complete games at this point. All right. Now, we've bandied about the Jeremy Fears of it all.
Yeah.
Can you give me your Plum impression? What would Plum be saying about Jeremy Fears if he were here?
I'm trying to remember what he said.
Well, we could just read the texts.
Yeah. Here's the thing, that if I pretend to be Plum, you're going to accuse me of a hate crime.
What? No, was I just setting you up for that? No, of course not. Our most tired trope of them all.
I'm not going to read all of it, because some of it I just won't. Why is Fears playing? He is utterly unforgivable. Plum adding, I'm hot. I'm very, very glad Fears missed that last one, which, by the way, was an empty netter that he bricked.
Yes, that he bricked, as if that hadn't been his whole game. So
Plum adds, he was terrible, just fucking awful, embarrassing.
So we do need to acknowledge his scoring output, or lack thereof. Just nothing at the rim.
0 for 10.
Bad shots from mid-range, and a couple of threes. I think one was a late shot clock 3, but another one was sort of, we did not need to be doing that in that moment. And those things actively hurt the team. I don't think there's any doubt about that. The other side of it is, though, 13 assists and a guy that was absolutely running the team in every single way. A team that deserved to win. I mean, really, this came down to Duke's zone and us not hitting shots at the end, and them hitting all their free throws and doing the things that they need to do to win.
Yeah. So as an example of where Fears was great in this game.
Yeah.
Jackson Kohler talked after the game about those 3 points that he got, the 4 3-pointers that he made, and that Fears had recognized a pattern in Duke's defense and was like, the pick and pop is there. And that led to Jackson Kohler draining all of those 3-pointers. And so it is this, and we're not more frustrated than the team is or Izzo is, but this is a wildly frustrating game because it was an eminently winnable game. I am looking, though. Duke did only shoot 65% from the line. It's worth calling out because they're not that bad of a free throw shooting team. So they're probably also saying we had a few more points on the board.
But they hit all 6 of their free throws down the stretch, or 5 or 7 or whatever it was. They had the 3-point shot. Who fouled again on that 3-point shot? Was that Ugachukwu?
No, it was your boy.
Who cares? Game was over at that point. I don't care.
But so the Fears is from a floor general, as his Twitter handle, is operating at a very clearly elite level.
Yeah.
And look, the one thing that I might push back ever so slightly on the 3-point shot that he missed is that heretofore Jeremy Fears actually has been really good in clutch time as it relates to scoring, which anyone who wants to say that's not a real stat, I don't disagree with you, but I'm just telling you.
I mean, he is shooting 38% from 3 on the season, which for us is not bad.
Yeah, you would take a 38% free throw or 3-point shooter shooting threes.
Yeah. Jackson Kohler is our best volume
his number is
3-point
stupid.
shooter.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Jesse McCullough is second, 4 for 7, so limited sample size. He's third. Right now, he is our third best 3-point shooter.
So, look, Fears finishes anything at the rim. This game is different. Jackson Kohler finishes anything at the rim. This game is different. If they just rebound on free throws, this game is different. By the way, I want to acknowledge that Tom Izzo made the quote about how they keep track of missed free throw box outs and that it hadn't happened since last year. That's not true. It's happened earlier this year, Tom.
Yeah.
But there were, and look, I will say that I did not like the way the game was officiated I did not like the way the game was officiated, but they also fucked up a couple calls in a big way. And Boozer stayed on the floor longer than he should have. Now,
I was so bummed out that he was able to stay on the floor.
I'm getting there last only because we could have won the game on our own in other ways, but the refs are a factor.
Yeah. I mean, he was their whole team on offense, at least.
In that second half.
Everything ran through him, whether he was being used as a decoy or he was actually doing the scoring. The entire Duke offense ran through him in the second half in particular.
The tough thing is, on the one hand, you can look at this and say, we can hang with Duke. On the other hand, we lost at home. So if you neutral site this, where are we at?
I don't know. I think it's like a 55 type split between these two games.
Well, the great news is this loss does not hurt us. And if you told me that of the 4 teams that were marquee events on our schedule, that we were going to go 3-1.
3-1. Yeah.
I would have said, sign me up. I would have said, sign me up for 2-2.
Yep.
Like, we're not used to winning these. This one is a tough one, and you can tell Tom's pissed about it. That was actually the most telling thing that was the first time I felt like Tom was maybe acknowledging his own mortality. The way that he was pissed at the end made me think he's like, this isn't going to happen again. Like, I'm not playing Duke at home again. Maybe it'll happen, but I just kind of got the impression.
You could get a Big Ten ACC challenge.
No,
do we have them?
Done, buddy.
Oh, we're not doing that anymore.
Because of ESPN and Fox and CBS.
Yeah, I guess that's a good point. Yeah, we're probably not going to get that again.
Yeah. So anyway, but you could tell his level of he wanted this one it almost felt like he would have traded the other three for this one. And that was kind of interesting.
Well, the good news is the calendar is advantageous for the rest of the year. We go on the road to Penn State on Saturday. Penn State has a good-looking record, but they've played truly no one, right?
Yeah.
Like absolutely no one. We're looking at like the Ken-Poms greater than 50 on all of these teams.
Before we move forward, do you want to talk about Fears's conduct on the court?
We talking about hyping up the crowd with the Cam Boozer chants?
Mm-hmm.
No.
Okay. Perfect.
I want that.
Perfect.
I want that.
Perfect. Then we are aligned.
If you don't love that, then you don't love college sports. Like that's what college sports are for. And if we're clutching our pearls about that, then go watch the NBA where guys don't care until the fourth quarter, or maybe they don't care at all.
And to that point, like this is the one time I'll say something nice about Duke. After the game, they tweeted out some of their players walking back to the tunnel, and it was almost all bleeps because the Azone was just like swearing at them, and the caption was "made some new friends," and like because yes, like who cares? This and I get it. No one
got hurt. No one was assaulted. He didn't pick up a chair and hit Cam Boozer with it.
And no one who's or anyone who's not a Michigan State fan, I don't expect you to ever like Jeremy Fears. In fact, I expect you to hate him.
Yeah, he is one of those for sure.
But he's my guy, and you have your guy, or you've had one in your past that you've loved, and that is the sport. So anyway, yeah, Gauntlet, I think at the front end, you're right. We're moving on to the nice part, the relaxing Christmas times.
Yeah. Like I said, we're at Penn State. They've played like truly basically no one. They've got a nice record, but it's all cupcakes. Not to say that we can't lose that game. It's possible. You can lose every
Bryce
road
Jordan,
game in the Big Ten.
Tough place to play. It's weird.
That's true. Yeah, this time of year. Can you imagine?
Like more empty than normal.
And then we've got the Toledo and Cornell later this month. We've got that neutral site game at LCA with Oakland that they've never managed to win, even when they've got good teams and good players. So it's really not until we go at Nebraska on the road early in January that we got to worry too much about taking another L. So this is let it breathe, let Jordan Scott play a lot more time, get him up to his 40 minutes that he deserves, and then we'll be ready for conference play. And then that Nebraska road game, you come back, you get 2 Izone alumni games, and then Indiana, who they don't even play basketball anymore, is my understanding.
They just lost to Minnesota at the barn. Purdue just lost to Iowa State.
Yeah.
And look, yeah, we're not taking those kind of losses. But we have Purdue at Mackey this year, I think.
We do.
Look, I would normally say, because it's the only time we have them this year. Yeah?
Correct.
Yeah, that's rough.
I mean, this is shaping up. This game sucked, but I've watched a lot of MSU basketball, and this is shaping up to look like a comfortable 2 seed type of team. That's what I'm getting from it right now.
One of my favorite quotes from Coop after the game was that he's like, in some ways, I wish they'd beat us by 30, because then we'd at least be able to say we're not as good as them. But we were. I think that's, if your team's saying that about themselves coming out of this game, like we should all feel fine. Fine.
Yeah.
Because they are that good. They were in this game.
Yeah.
They could have won this game.
Yeah, I'm not sure this is going to end up being a 1 seed team, but this feels like a 2 seed. Maybe we get really mad in March because we're a 3 seed and we deserve to be a 2 seed. It feels like one of those seasons, which means you're in the hunt.
This team could be a 1 seed, though, because there's not a shortage of opportunities to do that.
Mhm.
We get Michigan twice, and everyone's in love with them and yaks. So let's get it done.
Yep.
All right, speaking of Michigan, Kevin, you did that hockey this weekend.
I did that hockey. Everyone, you brush off your Big Ten Plus subscriptions, right? I think the Mun game was on Big Ten Network, but the Yost game was Big Ten Plus.
I mean,
Anyway,
as makes sense.
Stupid. So dumb that these games, the number 1 and number 3 teams. So at Mun, I have to say, I'm not going to say anything explicitly positive about the Michigan Wolverines, but we did not play well. And it looked like Michigan had a bit of a hand in that. And I think we heard after the fact, they got their first shutout at Mun in like 30 years or something like that, which is wild that it's this team under these circumstances that it happened. But the guys were out of sorts, and it really kind of looked like they were having a very hard time scoring. And that was due in no small part because of the defense that Michigan was putting up. I think in the second period, they had like 4 total shots, which sometimes this team can put up 20 shots in a period. It's crazy.
Yeah, when I was checked in on the first period after the game at Yost, when we were down 1-0, I think we were leading shots 7-4.
Yeah. They're pretty good at putting the puck towards the net and then having good things happen out there. Again, listener Mike Jones and I were kind of chit-chatting after the game, and he was pointing out, like, in that game, it looked like if Porter Martone wasn't doing something on offense, then it just wasn't happening. However, game 2, which I did not get to really watch, they go down to Yost Ice Arena, and they take one right back from them. So 3-1 win, including an empty netter on the road. And that just kind of goes to show that this team may get knocked down, but they get up again.
You're never going to keep them down.
Never going to keep them down.
Maybe a vodka drink.
Maybe this team is a lager drink. Maybe it's a whiskey drink. Maybe it's the NCAA tournament is a lot of puck luck and a lot of draw and a lot of that kind of stuff. It's going to be a very competitive Big Ten this year. It's going to be a great game at LCA. We are hosting the LCA game this year, so we've got to get out there. If you're listening to this podcast, buy tickets to the LCA game right now. Get out there, support this team. But it's going to be a very competitive Big Ten. May not win it, but still have everything you need to compete with the very, very best teams in the country and still have every opportunity to win a natty. So, yes, it's a split with Michigan. Yeah, you don't want to win at home. Yes, I would have liked to have swept them, but the team got punched in the mouth Friday night, and then they answered. And that's all you can really ask of a college hockey team.
And I think it's also a testament to how bad of luck Fitz is. Because
yeah, I hate that guy.
I also think the game Jonathan Smith went to at Mun was an important game, and I believe we also lost that one.
No more football coaches. I saw Tucker at a couple hockey games that I think we did actually win. He was just in the standing room only.
And the ref's like, that's a penalty.
Yeah.
All right, look.
Do this. Talk about where you should eat on 94. I'll be right back.
Okay. Look, folks, it's been a long week, and there's a lot to decompress from. So you should discover the heart of Michigan at Mama's Mercantile and Eatery, where homemade dishes meet locally sourced ingredients. I went to Mama's myself when I was in Michigan recently, and it was delicious. I'm trying to think of what exactly. I had the brunch burrito. Fantastic. You can find Mama's at 4450. I'm just reading this because Greg will hate it. Clear Lake Road in Grass Lake, Michigan. Whether you're dining in or ordering online, experience great food, drinks, and an atmosphere at Mama's. You can visit mamasmerc.com for menus, online ordering, and more. Come as a guest, leave as family. And I'm going to keep vamping about Mama's Mercantile and Eatery. If you mention can't read, can't write, you get 10% off of your invoice. It's a great deal. That means that your drink special is going to come down from like less than $3, if we're being really honest. And Greg's not back yet. So I guess I'm going to talk about Acrisure. Don, Greg, if you want to sponsor a podcast, come to Acrisure or come to Can't Read, Can't Write, where we can talk about reinsurance. You're back.
I had to go get my Kalamazoo exclusive Bell's Brewing
God
Mocha Java Stout.
All right. You're back.
What are we talking about?
Acrisure. I want to go off Grand River for a moment.
Why are we going off Grand River?
Because I do think we should.
Let's just go to Twitter questions.
No.
What are we doing?
Bowl opt-outs. Kevin, quick question for you.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yes. This is worth covering. This is worth discussing.
All right. So Kansas State and I believe Iowa State from the Big 12 have opted out of their from going to bowl games and have been each fined $500,000 by the Big 12 conference for not fulfilling their bowl obligations. And then the biggest bitches in the world, Notre Dame, who were like, I didn't get in the college football playoff because I play Army and Navy. They are just not going to a bowl.
Yep.
Because they suck. I want to talk about this topic, but I will just say I had forgotten how much I fucking hate Notre Dame until today.
Well, remember, they're back next year.
I know, but like
we go there next year.
I don't think it's a large percentage of our audience, but there is a percentage of our audience who does not know Notre Dame in their fandom.
The Domers, as they're known.
And I want you to understand that there's not really another team that I would say that if they were playing Michigan, I would root for a tornado other than Notre Dame. Like, they suck. They're the worst. And I liked Marcus Freeman. I did. But like this shit, fucking pieces of shit. Anyway.
I agree with the Big 12 on this, by the way, that if you decline bowl invitations, that you should get fined for that there should be a material cost for it.
Well, I do think there's something to the idea of, in the same way, maybe bowl, you know how if a team moves forward in the NCAA tournament, they get TV rev shares. Maybe the conferences need to do something for all of them and just institute some version of that.
Well, they do.
Well, so then you should absolutely
bowl pays out to the conference for its affiliation, and then the conference takes that money and pools it and redistributes it equally in most cases among all the teams.
But if you don't have an affiliation of the bowl, right? Because that happens sometimes.
Sure. Yes.
And you're just declining bowls.
Correct.
What do we?
Yeah.
I do think we've ruined the sport this year.
What do you take of the media narratives of Notre Dame is right to do this because all that really matters is the playoff anyway? All other bowls are meaningless and they should make the business decision to just try again next year.
I think that is some of the dumbest shit I've ever heard for a variety of reasons. If that's true, then that was true for the entirety of the BCS era, where there was only one national championship game and there were no playoffs. So your logic is stupid, incredibly stupid. I also think...
I'm not sure stupid is the word for it. I think cynical is the word for it.
No.
I think it's cynicism that led to this decision by Notre Dame.
I think it is stupid to not celebrate success in whatever that measure and form comes in. And look, if you're choosing to say that you didn't have a successful season as Notre Dame, then I don't know. Like bowls are in some way a participation trophy, but not everyone gets one. Looking at us, buddy. And
wouldn't it be great if you and I could be talking about, like, are we heading down to the bowl? Are we heading down to the Duke Mayo Bowl, or we wouldn't be that high? Just pick one.
I would go to Detroit again, buddy.
I could go for a bowl right now. Just saying.
It makes me, I do think it's stupid. I also think that CJ Carr could use a few more practices.
That is the interesting thing in all of this. Everyone's like, oh, the guys are going to opt out. And isn't that part? Like, that allows greater development opportunities for the other guys on the team. That you get additional practices. Isn't that all sort of beneficial?
Right.
The other side is the college football playoff committee is punishing Notre Dame for not being in a conference. They're trying, ESPN is the narrative. ESPN's trying to force them into a conference of some kind, which doesn't make any sense because if Notre Dame was going to join a conference, it almost certainly wouldn't be the one that ESPN is broadcasting all of the games for.
Unless they think it's ACC.
Does anyone think? I guess they did technically during one COVID year kind of fully join the ACC and participate in the conference championship game that year. Does anyone really think Notre Dame is going to become a permanent member of the ACC?
If they did, I mean, because that conference isn't going to last their grant of rights. Like, everyone should circle 2036 on their calendar because that conference is going bye-bye.
There's no way that Notre Dame's going to be like, let's hop on board that ship. They're going to go to the Big Ten. There's like a 70% chance they go to the Big Ten, 25% chance they go to the SEC, 5% chance they go Big 12 or anywhere else.
Yeah.
And that doesn't suit ESPN.
Honestly, actually, it might be a smart move for them to go to the Big 12. I mean, because you would instantly add, you'd get kind of what you're doing.
I guess now that Stanford's there, it makes some sense to be in the ACC, and they kind of like the Boston colleges and that kind of stuff. But like the Big 12 makes more sense than the ACC for them. I think that this is just such a cynical thing to do for college football. I think it's very sensationalist. All the media takes of like Bulls are finally actually really dead. I don't think that's true. I think that's we're going to continue to have Bulls, but this gets to the whole, like, we don't really blame Notre Dame for their role in super conferences and that kind of stuff, because when they signed the NBC contract, that very much accelerated a lot of this whole like TV rules everything around us type stuff. I think it's a very cynical thing that Notre Dame was like, we'll get it on the back end. We'll show the committee that if you don't give us preferential treatment, we're just not going to play this game at all. We're willing to cut off our nose to spite you. And that bothers me quite a bit. That Notre Dame's hardly the first team to ever get screwed out of a placement in one of these things. It happens every March Madness season. So-and-so team doesn't get in. It happened all the time in the BCS era.
Happened the 14 playoff every year.
Yeah. It's just that this is the first time it happened in Notre Dame, and they decided to just fold up shop and humph and be like, this doesn't happen to Notre Dame. And that truly doesn't happen to Alabama. That's a side concept.
Well,
how long does Saban have to be gone before we realize that Alabama isn't Bama anymore? Like, that might actually be some ESPN puppet mastering behind the scenes of like, we really need Alabama and their eyeballs for this whole thing.
Yeah,
but we're talking about Notre Dame here.
I know, but it's wild to prioritize a school that I don't think it's drawing that. I'm confused. But yeah, Bama until it's Bama. Bama's Bama until it isn't.
Well, it isn't now.
But no,
Bama's no longer Bama.
I know. Yeah, I do think that this is a net positive, or I'm sorry, net negative for the entire system.
Oh, for sure.
This is because what Notre Dame did was that it took a shit on what a whole bunch of other schools are valuing and celebrating.
Yep.
And I do truly, for listeners who maybe have not known the rivalry, like, this is who Notre Dame is. They think they're better than you. And that's what this is. Here is another example of that thing that you all worked really hard to get. Not good enough for us. And so, and I do wish, and it's got to be a national writer because like someone who covers a school can't do this. But I do wish someone would write that story. That because there are a lot of other schools really who did work really hard, and I'm not talking about the people who tripped over their dicks into a 6-6 bowl game. Like there are other teams who had really good years, probably who played more competitive schedules in the grand scheme of things than Notre Dame did. And they're going to a bowl game, and they're really psyched about it.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, get fucked, Notre Dame.
Yeah.
So, should we take these social media questions, buddy?
Let's do it, but let's do it quickly because we've been here for a while already.
Hey,
first up,
wait, I need to message Graham because they had a 2-hour and 45-minute episode.
My God. First up, from listener Mike Jones, are you looking for a recycled offensive coordinator? Would you like him to hire some younger guy with some buzz around his name?
I don't know. I don't know.
I think that we need to just keep saying this is not the podcast to evaluate position coaches. We're just never going to do it.
I guarantee you this, though. Pat Fitzgerald will do more due diligence on an offensive coordinator than was done on Pat Fitzgerald. Next up from Mike Jones. You did not disagree, Kevin. Nope. I'm not saying pumping up a crowd at a basketball game or banging on the glass with the Munsters will win football games. But after 2 basketball games and a hockey game this week, just seeing Fitz in the crowd acting like a dude was extremely refreshing. How many games do you remember Smith at?
So I remember him being at games, and I remember having to sort of like see him over there, which is, in fairness to him, the Mark D method, by the way. I saw Mark D at a lot of basketball games, and it's not like he ever got involved with the Izzo. He would hang out with Izzo on the bench for a short period of time. He would take his little seat over just off the side. He was there, but he was recruiting. He was doing other things. This is the first time that someone gets actively involved with 2 minutes of game time to play.
Yeah, and I'm not mad, by the way, at Pat Fitzgerald. I did really enjoy him acknowledging, hey, you made a difference in them calling a timeout. Like, I liked that. If anyone thought that my pissy attitude the other day was going to prevent me from liking Pat Fitzgerald, okay. Yeah, I accidentally clicked mute. Don't worry about it.
I was going to say.
Next up from Mike Jones. After listening to last week's episode, is there enough alcohol available for your Mike Jones to make it through the 2026 football season?
You're gonna have to do your part, listener Mike Jones.
Yeah, buddy. I'm gonna need more than some mystery vials because I just got rid of the very nice añejo tequila. I finished that the other day, so.
He's too good to us, listener Mike Jones. Yeah. Next up from Jason Fry, has Jackson Kohler reached Travis Trice levels of 2-point shooting? Trice was worse shooting 2-point attempts, 38%, than 3-point attempts, 39%. Kohler has been putrid converting on back-to-the-basket shots attempts this year, despite his ballyhooed footwork. But he's been very good from 3. Confounding!
The thing is, Jackson Kohler does do truly impressive things. You can hear the Izzone go so many times.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that it's ever
right up to it. Yeah, he just got to get that little baby hook. He's just get that little baby hook. I don't think we're here quite yet at Trice levels, Jason Fry, but thank you for reminding us about this.
He is from Utah, though.
I do remember the Trice 3s, but I did not remember the Trice 2s. Next up from Andrew Gardner, why is it always the zone that kills us, Jonesy?
So I don't know that this is always true. I think it's very memorable when it does.
Yeah, it sticks with you. I think we destroy a lot of zones from like lesser teams. It's good zones and athletic zones that
Duke has a lot of length, and Izzo said himself, like, I don't know that he quite said we didn't work on it that much, but he's like, he put his finger, for those who are listening, like, fingers very close together. And it's like, we worked on it. They've played this much zone all year. So I think they did it, but like, I don't think they practiced it extensively, and then it just started working. Next up from Andrew Gardner, Kevin, this is probably most relatable to you. What would you do with $401 million?
Well, yeah, thank you, Jonesy. It is most relatable to me because I just met with my money guy this week. That's what we call them when we have $401 million. And we were talking about, how we can put this to work.
Did you talk about the car condom?
Yeah. So we're getting car condoms for all of our cars. Rubbering up. Rubbering up is what I texted my money guy.
And then the USC
What would I do with
mascot?
$401 million? You would never hear from me again. Andrew Gardner, Jason Fry, Mike Jones, etc. I'd be gone.
Wait.
Host Mike Jones would never hear from me again. I'd be gone. Gone. Because I do this for the money, as you know. I do this for that sweet, sweet mama's Merc, can't read, can't write 10% discount. Do you have anything interesting, Jonesy, that you would do with $401 million?
Well, it's so funny you mentioned that, because I have often thought about how if I won that level of money from the Powerball,
this is all you would do. Can't read, can't write would grow substantially.
I would make it so that that's what you guys could do for a living as well. So, yeah. Wow, you're kind of a dick, Kevin. Wow, I've actively thought about how cool would it be that I could just fly to games whenever I wanted to, hang out with my buddies, and we could podcast and make no money on it. Fuck you. Next up, Joe Ashworth. Tom Izzo is 0 for 1 in the Acrisure-Williams era. Are we cooked? We want to be very clear. Acrisure was not involved in the donation whatsoever.
But I do think we're going to hear from them. It's not over for Acrisure. They're going to come up again. Keep an eye out. Yeah, no, it's over. Shouldn't have accepted that money. Huge mistake. Huge mistake. One of the classic blunders. Next up from Nate C., who has 4 questions. Who do you think you are, Nate C.?
Mr. Big Shot?
Greg Williams? Any issues in Fitz' locker room? Are you sure? Yeah, okay.
Next up, Fitz won't lose locker room awareness again, right? Foster good communication this time, right?
Yeah, Nate C., you've got to listen to his interview. And again, the word is interview with the game day guys. He did kind of talk about this. In fairness, they did ask questions about this.
I was actually surprised our media asked questions about it. I mean, credit, they did ask him about it, so that was good.
Next up, do Wagons get swept at home and split with rivals? Will the basketball team come back down to earth or learn to beat the zone? So now, Nate, see, not only are you asking 4 questions, but one of them is actually multiple questions. Wagons can still beat Wagons even under these circumstances. I mean, they are, if you actually watch Nate C., they're a very good team that is competitive with other very, very good teams. So does this mean that we're going to go undefeated? Obviously not. But does this mean that we have every opportunity to win the things that are in front of us in hockey? Absolutely, it does mean that. Will the basketball team come down to earth and learn to beat a zone?
Or learn to beat a zone.
Or learn to beat a zone.
No. And for this team, I think this team is more than capable of beating a zone. I think they did a real shit job of it. And you don't need to shoot a 3 to beat a zone. That's one way you can shoot. You can shoot your way out of a zone, but this team is athletic enough and moves the ball well enough. I don't know what the fuck they were doing in this game, but I'm fairly confident they can handle business.
And how's Coop?
Pull that up, because because the way he launches that elbow jumper, it's, talk about a Slenderman. It just feels like his arm's halfway there. It's like watching you shoot beer pong.
long twos. Coop is fine at them. Not great, not perfect.
Good enough that you
There's
got to respect
multiple
him,
ways
though.
to beat a zone, and I suspect this won't be the last team to try one on us, so I'm guessing Izzo's on it. Next up, while everyone's super stoked on the donation, I can't help but think it won't get us any national championships, but it could have definitely helped with numerous research projects. The amount really shows how effed up our
Boo.
priorities are.
Yeah. Okay. But again,
Counterpoint, Nate C. You've got a top 10 basketball team. You've got a top 10 hockey team. You've got a women's soccer team that's very strong until it comes up against an absolute wagon. Isn't the counterpoint in all of this? The athletic teams were doing quite well before a massive donation. What reason is there to think that they won't do better with it? I think this is a pretty cynical take. Now, the back half about priorities and better use for that money, Jonesy kind of already addressed that. Is there anything else you want to say about it? But my read on this is the athletic department was already fairly strong before. It's just going to get stronger as a result of this.
I'll just add in that, Nate, your first two questions, or sorry, your middle two questions, we're all bitching about sports because you want good things. And so the money does help. And will it get us a national championship? I don't know. Because you get multiple one-loss tournaments that you encounter. I don't know. Like, I mean, it's not like Tom Izzo hasn't been close before, right? Luck is involved in all of this. And unfortunately, we've had some bad luck over time. But the money helps. The money helps sustain your opportunities to take a crack at it. So, next up, Upper Deck Jerk Guy. Does Plum hate Jordan Scott since Izzo has compared him to Max Christie?
I didn't hear this, but Plum and I will have. I think this could cause a schism on the podcast if he tries to Max Christieify Jordan Scott, because it's not fair. I want to know how Izzo compared him to Max Christie. I don't like this comparison.
I believe good on defense, or high effort, but not shooting the ball well.
Okay. Next up from the Upper Deck Jerk Guy, what percentage of the $1 billion will be yours?
Not enough.
Yeah. I'm not exactly going and restarting up my NIL.
Oh, I thought it was what's coming to us for continuing to hype up the program. But yeah, you will have some percentage invested in there. I will have some percentage invested in there.
What did you drop? You said it on Twitter. What was it? Would you send
I actually didn't say it on Twitter.
Care to say it now for our listenership so that Jason Fry can write it down and use it against us later?
Yeah, no, I was feeling motivated that what I said is that in the wake of these things, these large contributions, that the number of folks who contribute is oftentimes a compelling reason for other large donors to get involved. Mm-hmm. So yes, I made a very small $10 contribution to the For Sparta Fund. Hit me up after Christmas. A lot of presents to buy.
Settle out, and then we'll take it from there. Yeah. This is an interesting question. Usually summer fodder, but we'll use it here. What's the oldest piece of clothing you still actively wear?
I have one.
I was actually just talking about one earlier today because I was moving snow around outside here in East Lansing. We got another 2 inches. The coat that I wear was purchased at the Okemos Kohl's when I was in college, and I still wear it.
Wait a second. You're not wearing your fancy coat to do that?
My fancy boy stolen valor peacoat? No.
No.
No, that's...
No. Your frugal white male fashion subreddit, Lululemon Peloton closeout coat.
No, that's a jacket. That's not a coat.
Oh.
It's a puffer jacket.
Okay.
It's a Lulu puffer jacket. I'm not wearing that to go move snow around. That's when you get your that's when the ski coat comes out, you know?
Uh,
And then you can unzip that guy when you need some ventilation. Come
okay.
on.
A particular guy. I still wear a T-shirt from when I was in high school. I had a shirt. It was a T-shirt that was given to me because I umpired baseball games for the rec league in town, and so I still have that T-shirt and still actively wear it.
It reminds you of the last time you were in control of something and had power, and that's why you wear it
I
because
mostly wear as
you
an undershirt now,
feel
but
that.
yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah, no, that also too.
I do have some college t-shirts. I remember one time I had a class with Delvon Rowe and I was wearing an MSU basketball shirt. And I'll always remember that because I felt like a real loser of like,
We're showing up at
I
the band's
have
concert.
your thing and we're looking at each other right now. You're the alpha, and I'm definitely not the alpha in this situation. And I remember that vibe in that moment. I imprinted that on that shirt. I still wear it as an undershirt a lot of the time. So
But I think listeners, what you need to know is that because Kevin was in the ballpark of the same height as Delvon Rowe, it's not the same as most people showing up to class wearing that shirt because Kevin catches eyes from basketball players as
yeah,
you're not one of us.
no, I bet you tried to be one of us, but you're not one of us. So, and he wouldn't be entirely wrong on that. Next up from Mamopaleaf, which reason explains the insensitivity with the car wash shower conversation from the last pod? One, too
Wait, there was
much
a
booze.
shower involved?
the the well, the car washing happened in the shower.
Okay.
One, too much booze. Two, not enough booze. Or three, your rant on PF. I'm presuming that's Pat Fitzgerald's 17 years of behavior only applies to Pat Fitzgerald. Okay. Um, should we address?
Well, can you explain number 3 to me? I don't know that I understand it.
I would disagree with number 3, by the way, Mama Belief. Us talking about a subject versus being actively involved with it on your team are two entirely different conversations. But as for talking about it, uh, it's not like it's not like last week we talked down about any of the people for whom this happened. We were riffing on the act itself. We weren't making comments on those people for whom this happened to or made allegations about. We didn't even actually talk about the specifics around Northwestern. We talked about the act of a car wash in this context. Help me out here, Jonesy.
Yeah. You'll recall, Mamopaleaf, if the outrage meter didn't get too loud, that Plum said several times throughout the course of him being indulgent that what we all believe, which is we believe survivors, and that there was actually a fair amount of empathy expressed in what was definitely not our best taste. But
oh yeah,
but
tasteless, tasteless joke. Sure,
but
yeah.
also maybe not in our top 10 of least taste that we've ever done.
Insensitive, I think I would take issue with. If we were accused of a tasteless joke, I would not, there would be no debate for me on that. But insensitivity, I think, is not the word for it because we weren't talking about exactly what happened at Northwestern. We're not talking about the victims that it happened to at Northwestern. We're talking about
the anatomical challenges related to it.
Yeah.
And so for that, I don't think we apologize.
And it is a bit of a, we didn't really need to go there. And I think that gets to the tastelessness of the joke. And that I think is 100% fair. It is a tasteless joke to make fun of it.
And I think if I was,
or not to make fun of it, to comment on it, to make jokes of it is tasteless. But I don't think insensitive is the word.
And if you're actually probably wondering where we fit on your numbered scale, I think maybe it was a bit of, no, it doesn't matter.
I don't think booze had anything to do with it.
Oh no, it wasn't. It wasn't booze. I think maybe it was just. It was a generally speaking negative episode.
Yes.
And so, look, to anyone that we offended, but we know that our impact matters more than our intent. And so for that, we apologize. Moving on. Spartan Girl Dad.
No, Monopoly has the second question.
Oh,
why does
Jesus
money
Christ.
relieve some of the sting of loss?
Monopoly, if you're going to lead with that one and you're going to go ahead and talk.
I'm not sure that it does relieve the sting of loss. The money will help us win more in the future, but the Duke game sucked. I wasn't being there, I wasn't like, Greg Williams came out and stood in front of a bunch of signs that said 401 million, which I would hate if I were Greg Williams.
I would have been like, don't do that. Don't do that.
I don't know why we chose to do that. I would not want to stand in front of 401 with the individual commas too. We didn't people talk about holding up commas,
by the way.
Yeah.
That's a choice. There's
definitely something going on there. But it wasn't like, I don't care what happens in this game now because this happened. That
short of the $401 million coming down from the ceiling. Yeah. And it's a cash grab situation.
And then you can just sort of. Next up from Spartan's Girl Dad, did the defense improve under Rossi, or did we just start playing teams with bad offenses from the Big Ten West? Great. Big Ten West. Every Big Ten team we played that wasn't from the West scored at least 4 TDs against MSU. Also, Nebraska was from the West, and they put 38 on us. Dang, Spartan's Girl Dad, bring in receipts over here. Okay.
Yeah, I think this is fair. But there's some eye test that goes in to all of this. And you could see more assignment sound football that was happening. I think that's fair to say.
It could also be Spartan's Girl Dad might be onto something. It could be like we were so desperate to cling to something that this is what we chose to cling to. Here's what I will say, Spartan's Girl Dad. As reminded in the previous question, there's a lot of money sloshing around the football program right now. And there was a choice, an independent third-party choice to retain Joe Rossi. And I have to think there's some element to him actually being a good coach in all of this. So I get the point, and I appreciate you coming with very sound evidence.
Great citation. Great citation.
And he stays on this topic, actually. Does Rossi's timeline as a DC start over with Fitz, or do we analyze his performance next season as his third year? I hope Fitz views it as year 3. I think you have to do that. I agree with Spartan's Girl Dad on this.
Can I co-sign but asterisk?
Sure.
Who stays?
The rest of the staff and the personnel. Sure.
The players, right? Like, depending on the level of exodus based upon a new head coach, right? You know, with the DC staying, you'd hope that isn't huge. But also,
as we've said, I think I know where you're going with this.
They bargain binned, chopped the fuck out of that defense.
Yeah. And
there was not a single soul on that defensive line who can whisper at a quarterback.
Yeah.
So until that personnel changes, I just can't because it, and I don't know about you, Spartan's Girl Dad, but I know that 99% of people who watch football can't watch a defensive possession and tell me what went wrong on it and why it was a bad play call. Like, I'm sorry, you can't. By the way, almost all the time I can't either, because it's just not that clear. It's all reactive. So if you want to talk about people missing gaps or whatever, like, I hear you on that. But if you tell me that the defensive play calling was bad, which is half of the defensive coordinator's job, I don't know that Rossi's defense seemed to improve. He had shit players. That's my take. Fix that.
It's a good point, though, Spartan's Girl Dad. Thank you. These are well-researched questions. Next up from the search, can we agree that who was harmed most in the entire Jonathan Smith to Pat Fitzgerald thing,
I mean,
the search was the most harmed entity in all of this.
watch out. Mama Leaf was going to tell you that's insensitive.
Okay. Next up from the search, how does Duke get the home whistle in Breslin? We kind of touched on this, but yeah.
Because they're Duke. Like,
yep.
If you didn't think that was going to happen, I mean, it's the one, it's sort of, whenever someone says that they expected a whistle in favor of them at the Breslin, you'd say, excuse me, what did you expect? But for Duke, I don't know what we expected.
Has there been a lot of talk online about the travels? Because the travels, to me, sitting there in the seats and watching it live and then watching it again on the replays were egregious. There were no fewer than 3 just out of control travels that were not called. One of which resulted in a massive 3, by the way.
That's the one that everyone's talked about. Next up from the search, do we like billionaires now?
We like one, and we like the way that he chooses to spend money, and we're inconsistent on this point. It's true. Thank you, the search. Thank you. And finally, should we sue the athletic department for depriving our podcast of the ability to create content? There we go. Why are you calling J-Bat that? Only the search has the right to call J-Bat that.
I'm an ally, and I'm with the search on this. And when you file that lawsuit, do know that in the caption page, you need to put the AKA there. So it's I believe, Jason Bat, AKA J-Bat, AKA Dick Fingers.
Yes.
And then
just list it all out at the top of the suit.
No, you actually, the caption page gets really long because you got to put the AKA. It's like name and then line, AKA.
Oh, yeah, it's a line break, right?
Yeah.
Line break. All the different aliases in the line breaks. That was the most fun thing, but the Chauncey Billups FBI case, when you got to see all of his co-conspirators and you got to see their AKAs.
Caption page was insane.
That
was a multi-page caption page. It was out of control.
Next from MSU Realist, not to be, quote, that guy, but what do I expect to happen? What I expected to happen did. And I'm glad we got Fitz. IMO, it's a great hire. That being said, I think this upcoming OC hire could be the most important thing of the offseason. Would you guys agree, or are there more important things to you?
No, I think that's easily the most, well,
portal activity. For me, portal activity.
GM is the most actually impactful thing that they probably, if we're talking hires, the OC is going to be important, but he needs to get a GM. Like, in particular, Pat
personnel
Fitzgerald,
actions are the most important things that are going to happen with this team.
And Pat Fitzgerald, in particular, needs a GM.
It's a good point, though, MSU Realist. Like, the X's and O's matter and that kind of stuff. But I think this year was just so limited by the guys on the field, frankly. And that is the fault of the staff. So it's not like they get, they get to just sort of whistle by the graveyard on that one. That is the fault of the staff. But I think personnel actions are the most important thing.
Well, depending on what their resources were for the personnel actions too. Right.
Okay. Next up and finally, Pepe Plum. Go ahead.
When your best friends skip your questions 2 weeks in a row, are you secretly more of a loser than you pretend to be, or are they jealous of your amazing skills asking for a friend? What does Couch in the Rube do to you, Beppe?
Yeah, I can't believe they would do that to you. That's awful. That's awful, Beppe Plum.
Obviously, you know that we didn't take questions last week, so we couldn't have skipped your questions.
Right. It's impossible. It's impossible. And I'm terribly sorry that this happened to you, and I hope you're okay. I hope you're doing well.
Next up from Beppe Plum, who would make the best O-line coach? Pico?
Dematica's son, who I believe is one of Coach Prime's 6 high school signatures or something like that.
The former NU O-line coach or Horst? At least one would be an automatic walking joke.
Horst it. This is Horst time. He's available. Horst it. Bring him in.
Last up from Beppe Plum, and last up from us.
Oh, Kevin. Beppe.
This show has been so short. If Plum is on, can he do a eulogy for Notre Dame? Mostly because they are whiny little dolphins I know. I am one too. May they rest in Horst. No, but I can. Dear Father who art in heaven, and Notre Dame is a fucking joke. Eat rocks. Kevin, go green.
Go away.